genera of truffles, or hypogeous, which means below ground fungi, that have this thick outer rind. And as they mature, this inner area here will probably become, if it's an elaphomyces, which it doesn't really look like, could probably become a dark powdery spore mass. But many of these you can identify to the genus level with experience, but you need to use a microscope to look at the spores to figure out for sure what they are, and certainly what species they are within their genus. But this offhand, I'm not really sure. It looks like a rhizopogon on the outside, but it doesn't look like a rhizopogon on the inside. So we'll have to take it back to the old office and look under a microscope and see what the spores look like. If we can find spores, because this one's pretty immature.
It is edible, though?
As far as we know, there are no truffles that are poisonous. And there's a couple of important parts of that sentence, as far as we know. The other thing, because you'll recall that the truffles rely on animals eating them to distribute the spores, so it doesn't make sense in the long term to kill the creature that you're relying on to distribute your spores. That said, animals have different sensitivities to mushrooms than we do. Reindeer in Scandinavia eat Amanita muscarias on a regular basis, which would not kill people, but certainly put them in a bad state of mind. They're not psychedelic, they're more of a deliriant, an unpleasant kind of experience. I've heard people who have eaten them say, I've never had so much fun throwing up, but not for me. Anyways, so animals can eat some things that we can't. The other asterisk with the comment that there's no poison truffles that we know of is that there are a couple of different species of mushrooms that start out below ground in what we call a mushroom egg. And when you cut them in half like this, here we can see just this vague outline of kind of a thick rind with an interior. With the mushroom eggs, and this is predicated on the fact that you cut them the correct way, this way as opposed to that way or that way, you will be able to see clearly an outline of a mushroom cap and a stem in mushroom eggs. And as it happens, the two types of mushrooms that start out that way are the genus Cortinarius and the genus Amanita, both of which have many poison members of their genus. But a good thing for us is that the edible choice truffles that we have here are very firm and rubbery, like a pencil eraser. Whereas this one's kind of squishy, like a firm marshmallow. It's more on the firm end of the squishy spectrum. But if nothing else, if you know that the edible truffles are very firm, all you got to do is squeeze them. You say, wow, this is probably something in the genus tuber, whereas the mushroom eggs that start this way are always squishy. So if you don't know anything else, you don't eat the squishy ones, as a very gross rule of thumb. But there's a lot of things that are squishy that aren't poisonous, but a few of the ones that are actually mushrooms could be avoided.
The other?
No, not particularly.
Yeah.
If you see signs of animal digs, that sometimes increases your odds a little bit.
Okay.
You know, the animals, they'll smell them, so they're better at finding them than we are. But often, you know, where they dig, they found them all and eaten them.
Yeah.
But if you're lucky, they get distracted, they don't find them all, somebody grabs them and eats them. And sometimes they'll leave you one.
Yeah.
But
now some mushrooms are very fast growing. You know, there's nothing there and you wake up the next morning and there's a whole patch of them.
yeah.
Truffles aren't like that, I would guess.
Well, the funny thing is, we really don't know.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to study with truffles because they are attached to their parent organization, often by just a single microscopic thread of hyphae. And so generally, like these here, by the time I saw them, I had probably severed them from, you know, it's like picking an apple from an apple tree. It's not going to grow much after that. So it's really hard to study them. Once, you know, you're familiar with Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, where in the process of measuring something, you change it. So you can never actually measure anything.
Yeah.
It's kind of maybe one aspect of that. We know, like the seasonality, like with the Oregon white truffles, you'll start finding them as small immature sporocarps, which is another name for the fruiting body, perhaps in October to early November, and you'll see them getting progressively bigger as you come back and look over the ensuing weeks. And by the time you get to February, they're pretty well mature and maybe starting to decay. And so we might infer that perhaps truffles take a couple of months to develop. But you just don't know if the one you find in February that's really mature started out at the same time as the one you found in October that was immature. You just don't know.
Interesting.
So it's probably somewhere between 2 weeks and 4 months. But it's one of those things that's really hard to study. And the other aspect, truffles, virtually all of them being the fruits of mycorrhizal fungi that need a tree host, it's extremely difficult to cultivate them, to grow them in the lab on a culture dish. I mean, you can get them to grow on culture, but they won't form a fruiting body. And that's also one of the reasons why we've had very little success cultivating truffles. The only one species that I know of that's really been broadly domesticated is the Italian black truffle, Tuber melanosporum. People have been trying to grow Oregon white truffles in culture with Douglas fir seedlings for 50 years, with occasional successes, but never that I know of has anyone come up with a consistent method that works even 80% of the time. And you know, you'd think it'd be really easy. You grow a Douglas fir seed in soil that doesn't have any fungi in it, and then introduce white truffle fungi. I mean, what else is it going to do?
Well,
what it does is not what you want it to do.
Behind the tree, because they are falling, the spores are falling from the squirrels in the trees, or is there a distance radius from the trunk of the tree that we should be
not anywhere
focusing
there's
on?
roots, which is everywhere around here.
Okay, everywhere there's roots.
And sometimes around a tree seems promising. Sometimes, I don't know. A lot of times it doesn't pan out, but.
And you know, just do it superficially. Don't go down the 4 inches. That if you don't find them on top, you won't find them deep.
There's a few species that grow deeper, but I usually don't encourage people to really rototill that badly. most of the ones you're interested in are going to be in the first few inches. You know, it's real common to get faked out by filberts or cherry pits or those little snail shells. But what I've never understood is being way out in the backwoods and then running across pistachios. Like, how in the world did these get here?
Bear Grylls.
I was guessing that maybe, you know, some logger of a bygone day had a pocket full or something like that.
It could be.
Could be. There are kind of critter dig looking things, you know, like that.
I've seen a few holes going into the roots. But I know there won't be snakes here, so.
You know, there won't be snakes.
Well, anything foul.
What's this?
You found a little one?
Well, this one. I'll trade you. Some trade, huh?
Oh, he found one.
Looks like another of the same. I wonder if that's a gymnomyces.
So he's found several.
Look. And give that back, huh? Super. Oh, throw them in the bag. Unless you want to take them, Aziz, to look at?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you have a bag?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Are those?
Yep, right there. Tiny little guys, but beggars can't be choosers. And once you've disturbed them, they're not going to grow anymore. Oh, gosh. So might as well take them home and figure out what they are.
You can have this one if you want.
Oh,
Is that a squishy?
Yeah, it's a squishy.
another squishy. Squishy. Great.
This is this little teeny tiny chip of a thing is what JC wants to eat.
Oh, well, you should.
Probably should, but yeah, I'm sure it was something that got all broken up. So I don't know what
Thank you.
it was. But it looks darker inside than the white one.
In Turkey, what
All right, here's where you go
pigs
back.
are
I'm not
digging
gonna find the-
water deeper, huh?
Oh, look at that.
This is Melanogaster.
Is that good?
No. And no.
I'm sorry, what?
You know,
How smell?
The little one
bad.
actually wasn't very hard at all.
Iron,
Think
like
it's Hymenogaster.
Scavenger anyway.
like iron. I can't smell.
This one a little bit
Oh, iron.
Iron.
because she's
I guess you could call it that.
General.
thought the woods were just a bit
Here.
but now it's
So what would that be? That is
Characteristic,
a
to find it. The hard part
Characteristics,
is usually
taste.
truffles to train 'em with.
This is
The harder part
a
is
genus
to go
called
out in the woods
Melanogaster.
and find truffles.
Melanogaster.
Hymenogaster.
Melanogaster.
Know
Hymenogaster.
whether or not they're not
Which,
they're there.
well, hymen means membrane and gaster means stomach. And so these things often, they can get this big around. And when you break them in half, they have these kind of membranous
Then I don't reward it. So that
partitions inside, and they'll tend to break on these kind of shear lines as you just kind of go like that. And so whoever named them thought that was a prominent enough feature to
or the brown. She's found brown.
name them after that particular aspect of them.
but those are inedible.
Well, they taste like
Not
they
good
smell,
taste.
Oh,
which is not appealing to me at all.
tastes like
And
mud.
yeah, these are among the most common truffles in Western Oregon. We find them an awful lot when we're looking for Oregon white truffles, to the extent that people get annoyed.
Oh.
Especially because when you first turn them over, they look like kind of like Oregon white truffles, and the same kind of color. They grow in the same habitat. We often find these on a ratio of about 4 to 1, 4 times as many of these as truffles that we want to find. And so, for those of us who are jaded, they're kind of obnoxious. But nonetheless, they're truffles, and they're mycorrhizal, and they're good for the forests, and they're an important part of the food chain. So, as annoying as I might find them, they're still
Animals are still
lovely in their own way. So, there's probably 3 or 4 prominent species of this genus around here. The most common is Hymenogaster subalpinus. But that one is usually bigger and lumpier than this. So this may be something else. And the only way to tell the difference is to look at the spores. And you measure the spore length and width, and usually you can tell what species it is based on that, but there's really no other way. So we'll take it home and
Another bit.
put it under the microscope. Bag for you?
No.
You want a bag.
The same bag, maybe.
Oh, you want to take those though?
No.
Yes, you do. Of course you want those.
Maybe I
told our son we were going mushrooming. He says, "Have a nice trip."
put that emphasis on the word trip?
He parenthesized it. Or no, excuse me, quoted it.
Uh-huh. Was he in high school?
6-year college.
Oh, there you go then.
That's neat.
And what are they?
These are
Scleroderma?
scleroderma, I think.
It's actually a puffball.
It isn't
So
really.
they are a puffball?
We can.
Oh no.
They're not truffles.
But it's a really weird puffball.
Oh,
Are you sure?
That's a rhizopogon.
Is that a rhizopogon?
That's
It's
a
pogan.
rhizopogon.
Okay. That's
Keep
shot. No. The Weber.
You want to cut those in half?
Yeah.
What is this?
Someone cut them in half.
and now
and
the
just-
spacious, yeah.
I don't have a knife.
Here, I got. Oh, there's
Okay.
one.
Nice. Quite. Ooh, pretty.
No,
What is it?
no.
Do you think it's a like Radiidra?
Not maybe
Paranagaster?
radiger. Yeah, radiger. Yeah.
Great, cool.
Yeah.
What is it?
Not
So is that like when it
radiger,
doesn't have
not
support inside,
not
it's
scleroderma.
like an egg?
Okay, but what
But
is it?
immature stage.
That's not a mushroom.
It's a charge.
It's not a mushroom?
It's a truffle.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. Do you want to take this one too?
Yes,
So
please.
what is that considered?
This is a truffle, but I
Okay,
still
first
have
of
no
all-
idea what it is.
I cut one in half. But
We have to look.
So, put those guys in
spore size.
Tupperware in the
measurement.
fridge for a couple of days.
Oh,
Maybe with a stick of butter.
can we look at those? Because I want them to see actual is this tuberosum?
I don't think so.
The organensis?
No, I don't think so.
Organensis?
I don't think so.
Neither one, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So edible, not edible.
Those ones are edible. These ones
The round ones.
probably not.
Yeah. I didn't figure those
But
were.
they are mushrooms.
They're truffles,
They're truffles.
Yeah.
which are mushrooms.
So, if it was, we were talking about mushroom eggs, and you would see a distinct cap and a stem if it was a mushroom.
Right. And then-
Here you can see the rind goes all the way around. It doesn't really have a distinct stem. I mean, there's this little business here, but it's
What is that called? I forgot.
Columella.
Columella.
Yeah. But this looks like it's starting to form. It's immature. I hope I can find spores. Like it's going to form these chambers in here called locules, which would probably make it what used to be called Pyrenogaster, but it's now called Chanella, which is a funny story.
I'm sure it is.
Well, here's a pretty good sized anthill.
Did you?
I didn't know they had them this big up here, but
Okay.
it is an anthill, and something is disturbed the other side.
I think this might
I don't
be
know if I can zoom in and show some of them on top.
I'm thinking belly button.
Did you say belly button?
If you can see them moving on the top there.
Well, hey, we found it. Okay, so we found 3 types. We found the rhizopogon, we found the varsity.
So that anthill is over 2 feet high. Might be close to 30 inches high.
So in
This side of the anthill has been disturbed, and you can see the ants